We live in the information age, but instead of making us more knowledgeable, we're awash in meaningless data, uncertainty, and dazzling distraction. Every morning as I listen to the news on my way to Staten Island, I'm reminded of how complicated it is to do the right thing. Mainly because what the right thing is depends on communal and personal context. Our fifth commitment is ethical development, examining the consequences of our personal choices on others and our communities. Well, whenever I think about ethics, the first thing that pops into my mind after Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, of course, is Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. Set on the hottest day of the year in a Brooklyn neighborhood, Do the Right Thing follows the rhythms and tensions of a single block as seen through the eyes of Mookie, a young black pizza delivery man. With humor, honesty, an astounding hip-hop bebop soundtrack, and a sharp eye for the everyday, Spike Lee unspools the simmering racial, generational, and economic conflicts that boil over at Sal's Pizzeria. By sundown, the heat outside matches the heat inside, and what began as the usual bickering erupts into tragedy, forcing everyone to reckon with the meaning of justice, community, and doing the right thing.
I need passion in my life.
I would say he's a Mama Lou.
He's a Mama Lou? Yeah, right.
Yo, Mook.
A couple of words of Thai.
Okay.
Mookie.
So you know I'm still
What?
Come you got no brothers up on the wall?
Man, ask Sal, right?
Hey, Sal, how come you got no brothers up on the wall here?
You want brothers on the wall? Get your own place. You can do what you want to do. You can put your brothers and uncles and nieces and nephews, your stepfather, stepmother, whoever you want, you see? But this is my pizzeria. American Italians on the wall only.
Take it easy,
And you, hey, don't stop with me today.
What? Yeah, that might be fine, Sal, but you own this. Rarely do I see any American Italians eating in here. All I see is black folks. So since we spend much money here, we do have some say.
You looking for trouble? Are you a troublemaker? Is that what you are?
You making trouble?
Yeah, I'm a troublemaker. I'm making trouble.
You're a real ball breaker. You're always coming in here looking for trouble, huh? Suppose I busted your head. How would you... Mookie, you want to get your friend out of here?
Well, are you gonna kick me out now? Are you gonna kick me out, huh?
No, I'm not kicking you out. You're kicking yourself out.
What? Look, we got some brothers up on the wall, you know? Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela, you know, Michael Jordan, tomorrow.
Come on, Mookie, get him out, all right?
I'm trying to get him out.
I paid for it.
I know you paid for it. Let's go.
Yeah, all right. So you kicking me out. Beat me in the head, you're gonna kick me out, right?
Come on, let's
yeah,
go.
okay, bet. Yeah, all right.
Let's go.
Look, I paid for my, boycott Styles.
Go.
Right? Yo, boycott Styles.
I got your boycott swinging.
Boycott Styles. Yo, man, I paid. What you laughing at? Yo, Mookie, I paid for my slice, man. Yo, man, come on, I spent much money in there.
What are you trying to do?
What am I trying to do?
The tension in the film ostensibly arises from the fact that Sal's Pizzeria is in a predominantly black American neighborhood, but on Sal's Wall of Fame there are only pictures of white Italian Americans. When the neighborhood asks Sal for representation on his Wall of Fame, Sal resists, remarking that he owns the place so he can decorate it as he likes. Well, that pressure just mounts through the film until, at last, heartbroken that his friend Sal won't compromise, Mookie relents and throws a trash can through Sal's plate glass window. Ultimately, Sal's is burned to the ground and a leader of the black community is murdered by the police. It's the ethical tension between peaceful resistance and the sometimes unfortunate necessity to burn something broken to the ground that precipitates the two quotes at the end of Do the Right Thing. The first, from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "Violence as a way of achieving racial justice is both impractical and immoral. It's impractical because it's a descending spiral ending in destruction for all. The old law of an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind. It is immoral because it seeks to humiliate the opponent rather than win his understanding. It seeks to annihilate rather than convert. Violence is immoral because it thrives on hatred rather than love. It destroys community and makes brotherhood impossible. It leaves society in monologue rather than dialogue. Violence ends by defeating itself. It creates bitterness in the survivors and brutality in the destroyers. And immediately following Dr. King's hopeful quote is a juxtaposition with Malcolm X's pragmatism. Malcolm said, "I think there are plenty of good people in America, but there are also plenty of bad people in America, and the bad ones are the ones who seem to have all the power and be in these positions to block things that you and I need. Because this is the situation, you and I have to preserve the right to do what is necessary to bring an end to that situation." And that doesn't mean that I advocate violence, but at the same time, I am not against using violence in self-defense. I don't even call it violence when it's self-defense. I call it intelligence. Ethics encompasses more than individual good behavior. How we behave individually shapes our shared reality. So ethical development isn't just a solo journey. It's the foundation for rebuilding the institutions and cultural frameworks that define our lives together. Growing up, I was taught to be kind, to tell the truth, and to share with others. But do you remember as a kid when some strange lady would bring her little kid over and you'd both get plopped into the playroom and then the other kid would steal your favorite toy and you'd cry, but everybody would tell you to share and stop being selfish, even though you knew the other kid was going to break your favorite toy car? I mean, not that it ever happened to me, but those playroom moments were early virtue lessons, exposing the limits of private morality. Had I been a more enlightened toddler, I would have recognized that sharing is more gratifying than hoarding, but babies are so stupid. Adults have no excuse. Once out of the playpen, our ethics are constantly evolving, shaping and reshaping our values through new experiences, relationships, studies, and challenges. Such a journey demands reflective questioning. Why did I choose this course of action? What was I feeling? Did I act out of fear or love? Wrestling with these questions, reflecting on our actions and their effects, helps us make more compassionate, ethical decisions. Every religious or spiritual tradition worth its salt wrestles with ethics, especially culturally relative ethics. The Torah doesn't simply tell us to be kind, it lays out laws for the fair treatment of workers, for debt forgiveness, for leaving the edges of the fields for the poor, literally and allegorically. Buddhists discuss right livelihood, work that doesn't harm others. Christianity's prophets rail against rulers and unjust courts, insisting that faith is meaningless without justice. And Islam's zakat is a system for redistributing wealth, not just a suggestion to be generous. One can be honest and hardworking and still find themselves complicit in systems that reward avarice, punish transparency, and make it easier to turn away than speak up. The world is full of good people hemmed in by structures that incentivize self-interest and render justice optional. Changing these systems is anything but easy. It's invariably slow and messy and, at times, thankless. Authentic ethical development requires accepting the discomfort of responsibility for the world we are co-creating. It means refusing the refuge of, "I was only following orders," or "that's the way it's always been," or worst of all, "it's God's will." Ethics demands we question the status quo and find the courage to resist its worst impulses. Sometimes that courage starts small. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting when we recognize an unfair policy. Perhaps it's organizing our neighborhoods to push for safer streets. Recognizing our role in the ethics of our systems means voting for leaders who promise, not just in words but in action, to build more just, equitable, forgiving, supportive systems. Acting ethically always requires refusing to participate in practices that harm others, even if it costs us something individually. Ethical development also means critically examining the economic systems in which we participate. Where does our money go? Who benefits from our labor, our purchases, our investments? Are we supporting businesses that treat workers fairly, that care for the environment, that give back to their communities? Or are we looking the other way because it's convenient? And of course, political systems are perhaps the most obvious arena for ethical work. Democracy is messy, but it's also powerful. Our votes, our advocacy, our conversations with friends and neighbors, and especially with those who disagree, all of that shapes the policies that govern our lives. Ethical development means refusing to disengage. even when the system seems gerrymandered beyond repair. To act ethically means we don't quit pushing for laws and leaders that embody fairness, compassion, and accountability. Social systems matter too. Who gets included and who gets excluded? Are our schools, hospitals, and neighborhoods places where everyone has a chance to thrive, or are they designed to keep some people out? Ethical development involves confronting the biases and injustices embedded in our institutions and working for change, even when progress is slow. One voice becomes two, two becomes four, and eventually enough voices come together to transform the entire system. Ethical development is a communal task requiring us to listen to those whose voices are too often ignored. When making decisions that affect others, we must consider how each of us defines what is right, welcome empathetic conversation, and then act in ways that support the best of humanity in one another. Amen. Our question to consider this week is, what small act of ethical courage can I offer this week? What small act of ethical courage can I offer this week? Think about that, and we'll open up for conversation in just a couple of moments.